It's crucial that we build that personal connection, and that comes before the business connection. If you don't take the time to know, like, and trust somebody, and you refer them, and that person then does a very poor job, your reputation will suffer. The purpose of a pitch is to engage somebody enough that they want to know more.
Welcome to the Case broadcast, brought to you by the team at CASEMastermind, where you can be part of a mastermind group. For more information, visit our website casemastermind.co.uk. So hello everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Case broadcast. It's me, Patrick Twitchett, and it's also
me, Melvin Manning.
And our special guest this week is the lovely Pam Edwards. Say a big hello, Pam, to our audience, please.
Hi there, everybody. Great to meet you.
And we're going to be talking about networking, all things networking, which is a very important part of business and how we grow our businesses and work with other people. Pam, I'd like you to share with our audience just a very quick intro of yourself, what you do, your background is, and what we're going to be talking about today. That'd be lovely.
Lovely. I'd be delighted to. So, hi everybody. I am Pam Edwards. I'm the owner of Phoenix Rising Services, and I'm all about helping people to make lasting transformations and create exciting chapters in their lives. And that can be usually a new career, or indeed they can want to create their own business. So I talk about and teach all about the fundamentals of being in business, building strong foundations and creating a strong framework. And one of my passions is helping people to build their confidence and consequently be able to talk about their business more effectively when they go networking and when they're doing their pitches, because that's the first impression that you get to make on anybody, and it's so important to get it right. So all kinds of things. I could talk for hours about it, but let's focus on what we need to focus on today.
Indeed. Thanks very much, Pam. Appreciate that. Okay, so I know our topic today is covering networking, and I know I think as we sort of established a few things with yourself, a good starting place is to talk about basically what networking is, and I know in your comments that you made, Pam, also what it isn't. So,
indeed.
Yeah, please guide us on with your thoughts on those, please.
Well, networking is essentially creating connections, building relationships with people, but it's done in a business setting. It's really no different than meeting people in a bar or going to the golf club or the gym and meeting people there and starting to create relationships. Doesn't matter what that relationship is going to be, but networking is focused on becoming a business contact. You don't know when you meet somebody and start talking to somebody whether they're going to be a potential client or indeed if they're going to be a supplier to your business. So it's important for people to really understand that it is, at a very basic level, it is just meeting people, building connections and creating relationships. And the primary thing that it is not is selling, because people will not buy until they know you. And if you start going into any meeting and start saying, I'm the greatest there is at this particular subject, you've got to buy from me, people will turn around and walk away, and you've lost potential business. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I think we've all seen the people in these networking events that just go around pitching at people. They soon start to get a wide berth around them. There's like a wide circle that follows them around the room. It just becomes too much in your face, doesn't it? And it becomes a really difficult and awkward moment. And I think we just need to really get back to the basics of getting to know people. And I think that's where people, and I think, sometimes it's not because people are wrong in what they do, but there's like this enthusiasm to get the job done. But if you try and get that job done too quickly, it's actually can be quite off-putting for a lot of people, can't it?
It can, absolutely it can, yes. And it's I often liken it to being your shop window. You have to make it interesting for people to want to come and find out more, to come through that door. And so many people don't understand that bit.
No, that's right. That's right. And I mean, and again, there's lots of events about, and it's just about making sure the right events to go to and where to be. So lead us on a little bit, Pam, in about building those relationships. So and sort of what to do after, really.
Okay. Well, the essence of networking is to find out about the person you're talking to. So many people I come across are more interested in talking about themselves. So if we turn that on its head and say, you start the conversation by asking somebody who they are, what they do, then you'll get quite a nice flow of conversation. It's not about you telling everybody, like we've said, really, it's not about you telling everybody about you, because if you're having a quick conversation and you start the conversation asking about the other person, then they should, if they know what they're doing, and so many people don't understand what networking is about and how the etiquette of it, but they should then turn around and say, well, what about you? What do you do? And take the conversation from there. But a conversation at a networking event shouldn't be really much more than 10 minutes at the most, with a bit of banter going between people. And if you are then serious about networking and understand the power of networking when it's done well, you should then be looking to book in with somebody to have a follow-up conversation, a one-to-one conversation, because that is where you start to build the relationship. That is where you start to get to know the person. And in the conversation at that point, you'll be finding out whether or not they are a potential client for you, or indeed you may know somebody that they need to connect with. That's the power of it. It's making sure that not only are you building that relationship for yourself, but you're also helping them, if at all possible, with people that you know, and build that connection with people. And that is more likely to produce further down the line an inquiry about your services. So even the follow-up is not about selling. It's about a fact-finding mission to find out more about people, to build that relationship.
Yeah, that's the time to glean, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, Melvin.
Before all this, before we've even gone to a networking event or a do of any kind, so what should one look like?
Are you talking in terms of appearance, personal appearance, or a networking event?
How should a person present themselves?
Well, I would always say that appearance is 90% of how people are going to react to you. So even if you are in a practical trade, plumber, painter, decorator, that sort of thing, if you're going to a networking event, you still need to present yourself in a smart, at the very least, a smart casual fashion. So everybody should always be properly dressed, clean clothes, ironed if necessary. You know, walking into a room in creased clothes and scruffy shoes and not having done your hair or anything, then it puts people off.
Absolutely. So, if I am a trade, if I'm a painter, I'm a plumber, I'm a roofer, should I look like my trade? Wouldn't that be better?
Not if you're going in paint spattered clothes and scruffy marks all over them, because that's the sort of clothes that you would wear when you're working. Yeah. But a smart pair of trousers or jeans and a decent t-shirt, clean t-shirt that fits well, or a shirt or jumper or whatever, but something that is quite nice and makes you feel better. Because if you walk into a room, unless you are actually starting a job, like you're going in to start and do the painting and such like, if you walk into a room in those clothes and everybody else is smartly dressed, compared to, depending on what your vision of smart is these days,
Mm.
then you're going to feel out of sorts. You're going to feel uncomfortable. And the key to walking into a networking room in confidence is to feel comfortable. So you have to mirror the sort of clothing that you're going to see, the standard of dress that you're going to see. And some of the higher level networking groups, you would always be in a suit, or something for more formal attire. So it's very important to make sure that you mirror the standards that are going to be present in the room. You're at a business meeting, you need to be clean, smart, and comfortable, whatever that means to you. But as far as ladies are concerned, I would say that really we should have a certain level of decorum or modesty in our clothing, because boobs hanging out and short dresses, really, unless you're in that sort of area of work,
no, I've told
really
Patrick not to do that. I have told him.
So yeah, absolutely. It is about being appropriate. So if you feel comfortable because you're dressed in a similar fashion, then you're going to feel more comfortable and more confident in how you react with people and how you interact with people.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, with the way a woman's dressed, what can happen is the attention can come from the wrong type of people.
Yes.
And so what you're actually doing is bringing the people around you that you probably don't really want around you whatsoever.
Yes.
And so it can be misleading. And I think I like Melvin's point about wearing those trade type clothes, because I mean, I think all three of us here have been to many networking events, and I think a lot of trade guys, they tend to have branded clothing, these branded jackets with the company name on, and that seems to look okay, and it's still professional. It looks professional as well.
Yes.
But you're quite right. Turning up with your overalls covered in paint is probably not really going to fit in. And I think fitting in, although we want to be a little bit standoutish anyway. So I don't think there's a problem with someone actually going in really clean overalls if that's their work attire. If a guy's going in painting overalls, you go, oh well, he's a painter decorator. He's sending that message as long as it's clean and tidy. But you are quite right, and I think I probably said this before on the broadcast, that it's easier to dress down to people's level than it is to dress up. If I go in a suit and tie and everyone else is wearing jeans and T-shirts, then I'll probably slip my tie off, put it in my pocket, might throw my jacket over a chair and roll my sleeves up on my shirt. But if it's the other way around and I've turned up to a meeting in a T-shirt and everyone's wearing suits, I am suddenly starting to feel like I'm the odd one in the room, and I'm going to stand out for the wrong reasons rather than the right reasons. So it would make, I know everyone's different, but that would make me feel uncomfortable.
Yes, indeed. And the other thing I would also say, particularly in relation to women, is that if you are dressed in an overtly sexy fashion, shall we say, to cover all kinds of possibilities, it actually devalues and detracts from you as the business owner and as the person that people will want to get to know. So people will be distracted, and that devalues who you are, what your business is all about. And it's very nice to see, people have their ideas of what's great and what isn't. But I do think that we have to consider the overall impression that we are going to make on others in the room, because it takes a long time to build a good reputation. It takes 2 minutes to lose it. And the biggest impact is your appearance as you walk into a room.
That's right. I think, reputation is built marching up a steep landscape. It's lost galloping down on a horse.
I've not heard that one before, but yes, it really does fit.
Yeah, it is so easily lost, isn't it? Yeah. So no, that's good. And I think, Melvin's right. Presentation is key. So many people will still look at a person's shoes and they will judge a person by their shoes if they're all scuffed. I know, Melvin, you and I have had these conversations a few times, you know.
Well, I'm very big on shoes, and
Yeah.
call me old fashioned, but if you haven't got tidy shoes and tidy attire, I will walk around you. I won't come up to you.
It's
Yeah.
a matter of personal pride.
Well, I think
Something
that
my mother was always very
it's-
hot on. It was
it's
always.
it's not always the case, but it's a reflection on your work ethic. It's a reflection on your standards. So it's very important from my point of view, and I do quite a lot of networking, and I make it very important that anyone turning up, turn up wearing the right clothing. I'm a bit not Mr. Nasty, but I just turn and say, come, if you want to do this job properly, if you want to meet the right people, come properly attired. I don't expect a painter to come in dirty overalls, but come in clean ones. I appreciate you work within an environment where there's splashing. We get all that.
Yeah.
It doesn't take 2 minutes to put a change of clothes into the boot of the car or the van, so that when you get to your job, you can then get changed. But when you're at a networking meeting, you're absolutely right. Appearance is a 9/10 of how people are going to react to you. Clean shoes, very important.
You're not going to enter someone's home with wet paint all over you to do a quotation. You're going to come slightly differently dressed. So,
of course.
Treat the networking in a similar manner.
Well, that's exactly what it is, isn't it?
And you're absolutely right, Pam. It is the shop window. This is your stall setup. This is your way forward. And when you're in a networking room of like-minded people that are, they are specifically there to do business, perhaps even give business if you are the appropriate person. You have to give it that extra bit of effort, don't you?
You do, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's 7 seconds people form an opinion.
Yeah.
Most of their opinion about you in the first 7 seconds.
It's a debatable point, but it's not a great deal of time.
No, that's it. And if that's damaged, then it's going to take a long time to repair that initial damage. Where if it's successful to start with, you can then build on that, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, listen, everything's fixable. There's nothing that can't be fixed. Nevertheless, all I'm suggesting, in what Pam is saying, and Pam's absolutely spot on, is the fact that if any of our viewers think that going scruffy because you're in a scruffy environment without smartening yourself up is the right way forward, then obviously, the likelihood of it being their loss and their waste of time is probable.
Yeah, definitely. There's going to be a huge percentage of people will just overlook them that could have been great potential connections.
In the room, Pam, on various other points and what have you. How do you think people should stand when they're in front of somebody and talking to people? What's your kind of training on that particular aspect of you're in the room? How should you position yourself?
The way I was taught on this when I first came into this world is that you should always, if you've got 2 or 3 people, you should always have an open arc in front of you so that people feel that they can come and join the conversation. Because if you are standing face to face with somebody, anybody else is going to think, oh, they're in a private conversation. I can't really get into that group. So I'm going to leave them for a bit and I'll talk to them later. So you always have an open arc in front of you, and always keep an eye out on your peripheral vision for somebody who's stood on their own, and bring them into the conversation, because you're there to meet people. And I've had some really random conversations with complete strangers, but it's been absolutely fantastic. And we've been there laughing our heads off. And then we get other people coming to join us. But it is about being open to having other people come and join you so that you can keep making connections. That if you have an open arc in front of you, an open space in front of you, people then feel that they can come and join you. And you're being friendly, open, warm, and all of those things that we would love to have everybody being at a networking event. But if you're face to face, then really you should either be in the corner of the room if you're having a serious conversation, which is a networking meeting is not really the place, You should be away from the main group so that people don't come and interfere. And I've come across some people who were face to face, and I've nudged up and said, could I join you? And they've been very rude. And, you know, so I think, well, you shouldn't, if you're having a private conversation, then go out of the room or go to a corner or get a room.
Yeah, definitely.
I've never been to those kind of affairs.
Well, neither have I intentionally, but I've seen it happen.
Okay. So obviously there's some really good points there of how we network in an open room. We spoke about how to initially engage, and then we were talking about following up as well, weren't we, Pam? And I mean, and building on that following up. I think you quite rightly say how it should be engaged. You know, take an interest in the other person, and that's where the relationship starts to build, isn't it? I think Dale Carnegie, in his famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think if that was to be summed up in a sentence, it would be listen to other people and take an interest and ask questions about them. And I think that can be very easily overlooked. And I know a follow-up conversation should be fairly balanced with, I'll ask you about you, and then you come back and you ask me about me and how we can help each other. But you know what? Some of the most impressive follow-ups I've had from people, very in my early networking days, was they focused all on me. And at the end of that meeting, it was like, I wanted to find more about you. And it's like, well, that's okay. We can follow up. So you've already geared up a follow-up meeting anyway. And they actually feel guilty. And I didn't ask about you. And do you know what? I've found them the most impactful. And it just made me feel this person's just here to help me. And I learned a lot from that. And I learned a lot of respect for those people. I still have a lot of respect for those people. And it's just the way that they approached it. And it may have been a very deliberate approach, but it worked and it had that impact. How do you tend to balance that out, Pam, yourself?
Well, I've had this similar situations actually where I've come across somebody, met somebody at a meeting, and I've started talking to them about themselves. And at the end of it, they've said the same thing. Well, don't learn and know anything about you, you know. So it does happen, but that generally happens when people are properly interested in the person that they're having the conversation with. And that makes people feel more comfortable, more confident. And, you know, especially if you're new to networking and you're really not sure how to actually work the room, if you've got somebody who is interested in you, it builds your confidence in you and you relax more into the meeting and you start to enjoy it then, because you need to enjoy what you're doing as well. It's all part of the marketing mix, but it's all part of building that relationship from scratch. When somebody walks into the room, you have no idea if they're a pauper or a millionaire, or they've got a big company or just a little one-man band, whatever they might be. But everybody that starts themselves in business has got an interesting story to tell. And I like to hear about people. I like to learn about people because we've all got fascinating histories.
Yes.
You know, could talk for ages about how I spent some time in various places in some of my younger days and had some great times and things like that. But that's part of the follow-up when you start to open up a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely key to creating that relationship is to find out about the person you're talking to. And then hopefully if they've picked up on the nuances and they've got anything about them, they will want to find out about you. Consequently, if there's not enough time at the meeting, then you say, brilliant, I'd love to take this conversation further. Let's book a one-to-one. And then I'll tell you a bit more about me. Yes, because you never know who you're talking to and who they know and how you might be able to help each other until you have that conversation. It's so important. But, you know, at a networking meeting, you're there to meet as many people as you can. You shouldn't really be more than 10 minutes talking to any one person, so that you can move around the room and meet some more people.
No, I totally agree there. And taking that interest, one thing I really noticed was with networking that you dig in and you find out about people's backgrounds. I think one important point to notice is that you don't know who they know. And it's only through conversations you start to dig in, and you think that, oh, you know, this little old fella that you know, he's a painter and decorator and he just knows a few people, and actually no, he's worked in this person's house and he knows this person, and he was next door neighbor to this person, and his brother-in-law is best friends with this person. And until you have those conversations, you never know. And so many times I've been in meetings and said, oh, who else here followed up with so and so who come last week? No one says a thing. So I'm the only person that followed up with them. Did you know that they knew this person? Did you know that so and so in their family owns this huge corporation or whatever? And you just never know. So there is an element to that, definitely, digging around. But the real key thing I found was it's when you start talking about personal things, you know, pets, family, children, grandchildren, and hobbies as well, and what you like and what you don't like, films and TV series. All of a sudden, you find these elements of rapport, don't you? That you go, oh wow, yeah, especially with me, Melvin. Oh wow, we both like Star Wars. Well, I'm your instant friend for life immediately. And if you said to Melvin, live long and prosper, the Star Trek connection would make him your friend forever. So it's all those elements, isn't it, Pam?
I mean, I think the personal questioning, the conversation about family, hobbies, etc., holidays, I think that is an essential part of any, let's say, getting to know conversation before you even think about business. I don't know how you feel about that, Pam.
Yeah, it's absolutely part of an essential part of it, because we will only do business when we are, I think, something that people forget, that at this level of business, when you're dealing with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, small businesses, although I hate the word small in business, but when you're dealing at this level of business, the crucial element is to get to know, like, and trust somebody before you will even consider.
I've heard that somewhere before.
But you'll do that before you even consider engaging them in whatever sort of business you're in. And that is because when we're talking about the big brands, we have a certain perception and an expectation that that brand has built its image. We expect a certain level of service. But in order for people to engage with us as business owners and to want to buy our products or services, they have to understand and really feel that they can trust us, that we are going to deliver what we say we're going to deliver, that we're going to do a great job when we do it. If we don't connect with that person on a personal level, we're not going to want to work with them. We're going to want to work with somebody that we know, like, and trust. So building that relationship, building that personal connection before we start talking about business is essential. And that is why we go networking. It's why we do the follow-up, is because then we start to build that relationship with a person and we feel that we can trust them. And if they are offering what we are looking for, and that's what business is all about, we're solving somebody's problem. It might not be an instant requirement, but a couple of years down the line or a few months or whatever, who knows? But if we haven't taken the time to build that connection, then we're not going to want to work with that person. We're not going to feel comfortable with that person. And, you know, when you think about the wide variety of businesses that we have, personal, practical trades, you're going to invite somebody into your home. You're going to want to know that you can trust that person while they're in your home. If you are a business coach like myself, or anything to do with personal stuff, then you're going to need to know that you can trust that person to deliver a great service for you, and also to maintain confidentiality. So accountants, solicitors, absolutely anybody that we come in and engage with, that we want to provide us with services, we have to know that we can trust them. We cannot trust somebody unless we get to know them and we like them. It's crucial that we build that personal connection, and that comes before the business connection.
And there's also this element of helping people out. And Melvin knows me. I know, and Melvin's the same. And I like helping people out, and I get a great pleasure out of it. And that's a big part of networking. And quite often, by digging around, Pam, in the conversation, we can sort of hear that who they're needing help with or looking for. And it might not be a client, it might be to do with something else. And I'm going to share a very short story, and this is probably my happiest moment in networking. There's a guy I knew, Richard, and he was looking for a maintenance company. He was doing some work on a property, and I said, okay, I'm going to introduce you to these guys. They work together. And one of these guys was Liam. This maintenance company that they had, in the end, the two people that were working together, they decided they were going separate ways, not in a bad way, just they had different directions. And in the last couple of years, Richard and Liam have now formed a business together. And they often say, oh, and that was you that put us together, wasn't it? And there's like this feeling of, wow, I've started something here. And
yeah.
You know, well, I've got a great relationship with these guys because we've got that history, and it wasn't anything to benefit me by putting them in touch with each other at all. But when they want things, they call me. You know, so if they need my services, they'll call me. And it can also make you the go-to person as well, can't it, Pam? Oh, you know, if you want to get put in touch with someone, you go and see Pam because she knows all these people, and it's also delivering, isn't it? That you're going to say you're going to put something in touch and then go and do it.
Yes.
Because that shows your reliability as well, doesn't it? And dependability.
It certainly does. But one of a slight caution I would add on that is that if you have taken the time to know, like, and trust this person, then you can be confident that if you refer them to somebody else or another contact, they will deliver what they want. If you don't take the time to know, like, and trust somebody, and you refer them, and that person then does a very poor job, your reputation will suffer because you are the person that introduced them in the first place, that made that referral. So that's another element of why it's crucial to build that connection, to build that relationship, so that you know that you can trust that person. And don't ever refer anybody unless you know them, unless you've looked at their work and understood who they are as a person. Because if the two connections don't work, your reputation suffers as a result.
Yeah, definitely. So, Pam, I think in reflection of all this, and knowing how networking actually works, I think there was one point that I know you're very good at, is the pitch. It's not necessarily for these meetings that, you know, everybody gets up in turn and gives their 60-second pitch, but actually in conversation, if someone says, what do you do, there's that response that's fairly short and succinct. It doesn't want to be 10 minutes. Oh, here's all about me. So guide us through a little bit of that, of a general pitch, so it's, you know, comfortable in a networking environment?
If we remember that the pitch came about and was originally called the elevator pitch, because it came from the States. And the idea is that when you get into a lift, as we call them in the UK, you have 30 to 60 seconds to have a conversation with somebody to help them understand a little bit about what you do. You're not there to tell your life story. You haven't got time to tell your life story. So you have to just be very succinct, but equally, you have to think about the language that you are using, because the purpose of a pitch is to engage somebody enough that they want to know more, that they will then come to you after the pitches have been done and say, that was very interesting, and I'd really like to have a chat with you about what, in more detail about what you do. Yes, we talk about what we do, but more importantly, we talk about the benefits or the problem that we solve for the client. And it's very important to make sure that the language that we use is engaging, uplifting, and exciting. So we introduce ourselves as, hi, I'm Pam Edwards, owner of Phoenix Rising Services. I help people to create exciting new chapters in their lives. That's your headline.
Yeah.
Think in terms of, when you're doing a 60-second pitch, you think in terms of a paragraph, an article in a newspaper. So your headline is who you are. Your first 2 lines of that following paragraph is what you do. Then you have another paragraph, which is where you add the exciting stuff. And that's very different for everybody. But one thing I will say, you then finish off with you repeating who you are and what you do, or the name of the company, and a tagline if you've got one. Something that is memorable, that makes you stand out. The reason you repeat your information at the end of your pitch is because when you stand up and start talking, people are often still thinking about the person who spoke before you. And they won't necessarily hear straight away, not necessarily tune into you straight away, who you are and what you do. So you remind them at the end of the pitch. And if you've got a great tagline, that really helps people to remember who you are. When I was doing Pitch Perfect presentations, which is the company before I morphed into Phoenix Rising, my pitch line was always, a great pitch is key, so call PPP. Which was good, because that came from the printer who created my business cards for me. He came up with that one. But it needs to be a catchy little sentence if you've got a tagline to use. But it's most important to convey to people exactly what it is that is the benefit of what you do. What is the problem that you solve, and what is the consequence for your clients of the work that you do with them? But we use engaging language, exciting language. I've got a couple of examples, but I don't know if we've got time to actually go through them. But you're wanting people to really want to know more about what you do. And if you're touching a nerve because you are offering what they are looking for, that almost becomes an instant sale if you've got your pitch right. Because they're coming to you and they're saying, I need to know more about what you do, because I need this particular service at the moment.
And I think a less is more is also something that if a conversation is left that like on a cliff edge, that they'd like to know a little bit more what you're meaning, sometimes they're then pursuing you to find out more, and that becomes more engaging as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Leaving those leads.
There's no way that you can put everything that you do into a 60-second pitch. Most entrepreneurs have got more than one service that they offer, more than one product. So you have to have a pitch that you can change around and keep the interest going. Because if you're going to the same meeting the same people every week or every month, and you stand up and do your same pitch every month or every week, people are going to get bored. So you have to be able to change it round as well, because there's, you know, we all do different things. I've got half a dozen, if not more, different services that I offer. So I need to change it round so that people start to get a better idea of the broad spectrum of the services that you offer.
Yes. Yeah, no, very true indeed. No, and I think that's been really helpful and enlightening. I don't know if you've got any final questions, have you at all, Melvin?
Well, I like the simplicity of the fact that when you start to learn how to do the networking and get the hang of it, it's not, you know, you can't take to it straight away. Not everyone's a natural. Is that, you know, if you are able to take a subject, a channel of business that you are involved with, that you're obviously exceptionally good at, but, you know, talk about them one at a time at different stages or different meetings, and spread it about a bit so it's not overcomplicated. In my early experiences in networking, people used to try and cram everything in the kitchen sink in, and I'd think, well, I need to go to the loo, or I need to go and get a sandwich, because, you know, it was overwhelming, and you couldn't get the gist of what they were talking about.
No, absolutely. No, I've been to meetings, and I'm not going to mention the group, but you'll know it. I've been to meetings where there was 50 people in the room who were members, and then they had a visitors' day, which is where I had this experience. There was 20 visitors in the room. Absolutely ridiculous when it came to doing the pitch. So they cut it down. They said that the members had got 30 seconds to speak and the visitors had got 20 seconds. Virtually impossible. So the members stood up, and they were so quick trying to get their 60 seconds squashed into 30 seconds that you couldn't hear what they were saying. It was a complete waste of time. And then they were so rude to the visitors, bearing in mind you invited these people along because you'd like them to join the group. Yeah, right. The visitors got simply cut off at 20 seconds. Mid-sentence. They didn't even let you finish the sentence. You got cut off.
Yeah.
Never again. I swore that never again, because for that group, I know some people, and I'd say, I'll go along as your sub from time to time. I'll come along as a guest, but don't ever ask me to join the group.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Sounds familiar, Pam. But one further question on that subject. Now, we're not here to recommend groups, and we're not looking to obviously give anyone any more preference than another. But if you're a lay person, I was with someone yesterday, I don't think they've networked in 40 years. But, you know, in your way of coaching and advising, how do you advise individuals, no matter male, female, whatever, to find a suitable group? What's your kind of initial coaching on that?
I think it's most important to find the group that suits where you are in your business at this particular moment. Because as we travel through our business journey, we will need to change our networking. I've always said that we should change networking groups every 18 months to 2 years, because you get stale. If you're seeing the same people all the time, you're going to get stale. But when it comes to networking groups, you could network all day if you wanted to, because there's breakfast meetings, there's lunch meetings, there's evening meetings. It's very important to find the groups that fit where you feel most comfortable, especially when you're starting out, and that fit in with your lifestyle. There's no point in booking in to go to a breakfast meeting when you've got the school run to do, you know, because you're not going to be able to get to the meetings. So you have to be able to commit to going to networking, whichever meeting you've gone to, on a regular basis, because that is also building your reputation and your know, like, and trust, because people then realize that you're reliable, that you will turn up when you say you're going to. So it's a matter of finding the groups that suit your lifestyle and indeed suit your business. Because some of the networking groups will be better suited to certain services and product-based companies than others. And that's why you go to a meeting for 2 or 3 meetings before you decide if it's going to fit and help you. So the meeting's got to be a friendly meeting. The host has got to be a friendly person. And if you're brand new in the room, they should be looking to put you with somebody who is a seasoned networker who can introduce you to a few people in the room. And so that you start to feel comfortable, because when you feel comfortable, your confidence rises, and then you're better able to start and talk about who you are and what you do, because people always want to talk to the new people in the room. But if you're shy and have got no confidence and there's nobody in the room to actually help you and guide you by the hand and show you the ropes of that particular meeting, then you're not going to want to go again.
No.
So you've got to feel comfortable, whichever group you go to. It's got to suit your lifestyle, and you've got to feel that the people there are interested in you so that you can then be interested in them.
And what about regularity?
That again can be a challenge, and it needs to fit in with your lifestyle. But there's a wide variety again. There's some groups that are every week. Some are more structured than others, and that is quite a commitment. So how is that going to impact your business, your ability to run your business? Monthly or bi-weekly, monthly meetings, it's all a matter of making sure that it fits in, that it's not going to take over to such an extent that you have no time to build your business.
Mm.
So it's really is, there is such a variety out there. I would certainly say that when you're starting out, the free networking groups are a good training ground. And then as you get more confident in your business, as your business starts to grow, you're probably then going to be able to commit to paying a membership. But when you go to a membership group, then you really do need to be able to commit to the frequency of the group.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just not going to get any value out of the money that you're paying.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's brilliant, Pam. So thanks ever so much for sharing your thoughts, your ideas today. It's been really, really helpful, and I trust many of our listeners have hopefully gleaned some great tips from all of that. So I'm going to close this part of the meeting by saying to all our listeners, do remember to listen out, listen up, and listen in. Melvin likes that bit, you see. I have to do that for Melvin. So it is a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from Melvin.
And it's a goodbye from me. Thank you very much. It's been very entertaining, very interesting. And I do hope your listeners have really gained a lot of knowledge. I'm always available if they want to bend my ear.
Well, there begs the question, Patrick. So contact information.
Pam, where if our people or listeners would like to get hold of you, what is the best way that they can get hold of you? And is there anything coming up in the next few months that there may be of interest to them as well?
Indeed. Well, I'm on LinkedIn, so I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. Obviously, there is the website. People can email me anyway through the website. That is all the W's, phoenixrisingservices.uk. I run a series of courses as well as doing one-to-one work. And because so many people have started a new business but haven't gone networking yet, or are reluctant, maybe they need to refresh their skills after the last couple of years, I am relaunching my networking skills and 60 seconds presentation courses, running those in February and March, and I shall also be running them again in probably May and June. And in April, I will also be relaunching the new version of my Roadmap to Business Success course, which is all about helping people to create solid foundations and frameworks from which then to go and build a successful business. So it's quite an in-depth course. It's a comprehensive course, but it's such a valuable course because I'm all about people creating success. And so many people lose their businesses because they're not prepared for the business of running a business. So networking skills and 60-second presentations it's an important part of people's marketing mix. And when it's done well, you really get to a situation where you don't need to do a great deal of other marketing, apart from your social media posting. It's well worth investing in learning how to do it really well. And I'm always available if people want to work one-to-one or in group format. There's always something going on.
Excellent. Okay, that's lovely. All right, so without further ado, thanks very much, everybody, and a big goodbye to everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
To continue to listen out, listen up, and listen in to the Case broadcast, do hit the subscribe button to receive reminders of all our new episodes.